Burrow, he's having an unbelievable year, but is his season over if they lose to the Chargers this weekend?
Yeah, and it's the biggest game for Joe Burrow and the Bengals since the playoffs 2 years ago. You're going against the number one defense in the NFL, the Los Angeles Chargers. Average game for a quarterback against them is about 195 yards, a touchdown, a pick, 3 sacks. Good luck, okay? The reality is this: win and stay alive, lose, and you've wasted an MVP season from your quarterback and really a triple crown receiving season from Jamar Chase.
Here's the one thing I will say that gives me some hope if I'm Cincinnati. Their problem has been their defense is so incredibly bad. The Chargers don't want to score 30 points. Well, maybe they want to, but they don't do it. So the biggest problem that the Bengals have had is getting outscored, right? They got into that shootout with Baltimore, and they wind up losing. I don't see the Chargers scoring 30 even against that bad defense.
That's not the way they played the game. We've looked at Justin Herbert in the past, and he's throwing the ball all around the field. That offense is a lot more efficient, a lot of shifts, a lot of motions. That's the Greg Roman effect. We saw him in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. It is not that offense, but it's designed for Justin Herbert to make a key play when he has to, and he has done that this year. We've even seen him make plays with his legs.
I would also say this, though. This Chargers defense is a lot better than people give them credit for. They're top 10 in just about
in the NFL.
Every category, and they're number one in points allowed.
They don't give up.
They give up 13
Third down defense is unbelievable. And they don't turn the football over offensively. They're first when it comes to turnover differential.
Khalil Mack.
This team is a deal.
Khalil Mack looks like Khalil Mack.
Now, this is going to be a hell of a challenge. This is going to be a hell of a. They haven't played some of the best offenses. So, to your point, getting a red-hot Joe Burrow is going to be a challenge.
They haven't given up 21 points in a game yet this year.
Right.
And now the Bengals go in there with their season on the line on a Sunday night game that's been flexed. Gives you a home game on Sunday.
Talk about it.
Very, very nice.
Appreciate
and so the pressure's on the Bengals to come through against a defense that the new defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, has elevated in Los Angeles. And look, when the Chargers went out and hired Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter, they needed to remake that franchise. They lacked toughness. They lacked pressure skills. Like, this team is doing all the things that it hasn't done in years past.
Mark it down. Harbaugh will have that team in the Super Bowl in his first 3 seasons. This is year 1. Continuing the QB quick reads. Colts announcing yesterday they're bringing back Anthony Richardson. Dan, what do you think of that decision?
Heavenly Father, is there a plan? What is the plan? Because the move to Joe Flacco was, we're a playoff contender. Are we not anymore? Let me say this about Indianapolis, because I got a lot of love for the people that are there. This is the most important 7 weeks over the last decade, because the next 7 weeks are going to determine a lot of what that building looks like moving forward come January, February. It's either going to be, yes, this was great, or, oh my gosh, this was an utter disaster. There is pressure all around in Indy.
J-Mac, your TV broadcast crew, I was talking to your guy Tiki Barber the other day. You guys have done a lot of Colts games, so you know them. What is your sense of how and why they've handled this situation with Richardson the way they have?
Listen, I think they went into this year with the thought of put Anthony Richardson there, let him grow and develop. We'll go through the adversity. I think it got to a point where they needed to see more. You saw when he came back, he said he needed to sacrifice more and he needs to be more consistent. And I think for them, they needed to see more off the field of him getting ready for a game week in and week out. I honestly think they wanted this to last longer with Joe Flacco in the lineup and give Richardson that time to learn from him. But Flacco hasn't played well. You look at their last 2 games, the amount of turnovers, you can't win a football game that way. And you can't convince a defense that's playing well in Indy, that's creating takeaways, that we're going to continue to roll the same thing out there and we have no chance to win. So I think this gives Richardson his chance to prove I've learned something.
And let's be honest, Joe Flacco was playing behind an offensive line that was beaten up. They weren't playing with their regular guys.
3 rookies.
Right. And so that was really tough for him to overcome that. And they needed Anthony Richardson to be, what I'm hearing from you, is a little bit more professional.
Yes.
To step back, to see what's going on around and be more aware of being a pro. And I think that they're hoping now, with a couple of weeks off, that he's more professional in his approach on and off the field.
Absolutely.
It's another situation, another young quarterback situation that, in my opinion, has been completely mishandled, which brings us to Chicago. Will the Jordan Love and the Packers, are they going to blow out Caleb Williams and the struggling Bears? And if so, then what?
Well, they won't if Jordan Love continues to make plays like this. I love Jordan Love, but in 7 starts this year, he's got 10 picks and 4 fumbles. Do the math. That's 2 times a game. It's like, oh my gosh, I regret that decision. And he's got to get rid of these 2 plays a game where it's, I think I can do the thing that nobody else on the planet can do, this YOLO style of football, there's no consequence to my decisions. If he gets to that, yeah, then they're going to blow out Chicago, and they're a legit contender to Detroit.
Fudge it moment.
Fudge it moments, yes.
Fudge it
Something we all say all the time.
Fudge it.
That said, it's the other side of this thing that people are paying close attention to. Our buddy Louis Riddick, who sits there with me at the draft and had so much to say about Caleb Williams before he was even drafted. These were his thoughts yesterday on how the Bears organization has handled it so far.
It sounds like it's a total overall fail. Caleb's not doing the things that he needs to do in terms of getting the ball out quickly, efficiently, accurately when it's there to be had. And then there's times where, honestly, look, I don't want to say he set up to fail, but he set up to fail because things aren't timing out right. In the end, one guy takes the fall for this, and that's Shane Waldron. But quite honestly, in the end, if this doesn't improve at the end, everybody needs to take the fall because it's a total organizational fail. And I'll tell you this, the last person that get to be gotten rid of will be Caleb Williams. So everyone else around there, and you know who you are, you're on the clock.
Even be a little late for most of the people as far as the clock is good. That clock ticks for Matt Eberflus. I think we all understand that. The bell tolls for him. But this is just another example, Dan. I mean, in life, when the problems that were easy to see coming are the ones that trip you up, that's your problem, right? We all face adversity we didn't see coming. Like, oh, I had no idea that might happen. That's called life. But when the Bears do exactly the same thing that they did with Trubisky and the exact same thing they do with Justin Fields, now they do the exact same thing to this kid with a lame duck coach, and it's going to go the same way. This is an organizational disaster.
Utter disaster. And I want to make sure I asked Schefty something clearly. Is it accurate to say that there were conversations that they were going to sit Caleb down?
There were conversations. I don't know how close they got, but yes, there were conversations about whether one of the solutions was to bench the quarterback. But to bench him, to give him a break, to try to save him from himself. I'm just telling you, Dan.
This is why it's an utter disaster. How about Chicago, you coach him? Instead of throwing him to the side and sweeping the problem under the rug.
They may ruin him before they coach him up.
Here's Chicago thinks they're dating Caleb Williams. You're married to him, okay? So I want to make sure I understand this. So you pass on the quarterbacks from 2 years ago, the Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud situation, to get picks to rebuild this roster. And you passed on those guys because you really wanted Caleb Williams. You were willing to wait for the number 1 pick for Caleb Williams. And then you rebuild this roster with a ton of talent. You draft Caleb Williams. You decide to start Caleb Williams. And the first time that the adversity hits, it's like, well, we'll push you over here and you don't matter anymore because the other stuff is more important. You're married to him, guys. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Who's tough in the building? You coach them through this stuff. You go, we're going to get through this together. It's just like in marriage. When your kids are losing their minds or life is tough, you don't got enough. It's not like you bail on your wife. No, we're going to get through this together. What happened to coaching these kids? I understand he's not playing well. Coach him, develop him, figure out how to get him to play better instead of throwing him to the side.
Man, they have fired 2 offensive coordinators in this calendar year. They don't know how to coach people. They don't know how to develop people. They always get it wrong. This is the reason he didn't want to be there. Everyone in Chicago yelled at me when I said it at the time, but you made the point in a tweet the other day, and I completely agree with you. This is why quarterbacks should be much more concerned, not with what number they get drafted, but with where they wind up, because the Chicago Bears have proven one thing over the course of the last 8 or 9 years and over the course of, candidly, the last century. They can't develop a quarterback.
Yeah, and it got difficult, and so we're going to bench him because we think that's what's better for him. What did you expect? Of course it's going to be difficult. It's the freaking NFL. It's hard to play the position. So develop them through it.
And I think to your point, when you say that it's a marriage and you find your way through it, the truth of the matter in the NFL is not a marriage, because at the very end of the year for Caleb Williams, you may get a brand new coaching staff. So now you're married to someone brand new while you're dating and getting to know them. So I think some of the issues are for a coaching staff, you're trying to coach this guy for the future that you don't know if you're going to be a part of.
That's why you don't.
But you should never get to that.
The rookie quarterback.
That's my point.
Why you don't have a lame duck
like that. That's a great
for the rookie quarterback, because the priority should be developing the quarterback, and Matt Eberflus's, is trying to keep his job. And that's why you think about sitting the quarterback down, because you're trying to keep your job, because you're not trying to develop someone when you know you're going to get fired if everything keeps going the wrong way. So that's how they got the whole thing back, you-know-what words, before they even started.
What Louis Riddick said, everyone in the Bears organization, not just Matt Eberflus, it's also Ryan Poles as the general manager, because you made that call to keep Eberflus as the head coach instead of bringing in somebody else that he can be hitched to for the future. That's another reason why when we talk about Cliff Kingsbury, you're right. I'm not going to Chicago when I know the head coach possibly won't have his job the following year. I'm going to the Washington Commanders where Dan Quinn is a new coach, and I know I'm going to have longevity, and I know my future is secure. That's another reason why when we talk about Cliff Kingsbury, why he's in Washington.
And that's why Caleb and his family wanted to get him to Washington. They were looking to find a way to do it, and they couldn't do it. They were going to take him, and that was it.
Here's my thing. It's also not like I have a tremendous amount of admiration for play calling in the NFL. I think it's Troy Aikman said this. I totally agree. It's the hardest thing to do. It's not that hard when you got good players, though. Like Rome Odunze, we're going to throw you one go ball a week. Watch what Denver does with Bo Nix. Cortland Sutton, we're going to throw you a go ball, one a quarter, not one a week. Hey, DeAndre Swift and Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, we're just going to get you guys quick touches. That's how you make the life for the young quarterback easier. Sean Payton's doing it with Bo Nix. Bo Nix is playing good football. Who's more talented?
Oh, it's not even close.
So it's like,
I believe Sean Payton, when we talked to him, he said, you always talk about a quarterback. He needs weapons. He needs weapons. Sean Payton said a quarterback's best weapon is a pass rush.
And then
give me a running game and a defense. I don't care about, look at the receivers.
Totally, so I don't got to score 30 points.
I don't care.
And then Caleb's got to answer questions about do his teammates have his back or not, because there's rumors that guys are going and asking for Caleb to sit and Tyson.
I don't like that. That's BS in my opinion.
Imagine being Caleb Williams.
As a veteran player, like you don't do that to a guy that just got drafted #1 overall and go behind his back to coaching staff.
How does stuff like that
That's crazy to me.
Final word, Schefter. Quick final word. We'll come back to this. Final word.
I'm just saying, we're questioning the coach. We're questioning the offensive coordinator, questioning the GM. There's been multiple GMs. There's been multiple head coaches. There's been multiple coordinators. One thing's been the same there.
Talk about it.
Yeah, it's the ownership. Yeah, I mean, ask anyone in Chicago. They'll tell you the problem actually ends in the name McCaskey, but that's just not a name everyone around the country knows. The bottom line of it is it's a disaster, and it's happening again.